edition of the Boxing Junkies Podcast, Episode 7. I'm your host, Sherry Abassi, and once again this week I'm joined by my co-host, Harris. Harris, how you doing, brother?
I'm right, man. You?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good, all good. So this week, of course, we need to speak about the return of Errol Spence, Unified WBC and IBF Welterweight Champion of the world, against former Unified Champion at 140, Danny Garcia. So the fight obviously was this weekend in Dallas, Texas. Managed to get some fans in there as well. What are your thoughts on how the fight went down, and were you surprised by how good Spence actually looked in the end?
I was surprised in the beginning how he started. I thought he would be maybe a bit more cagey, but he just started going into his gear straight away. So I thought he looked really good. I thought Danny Garcia did really well. You know, I thought he kept it a really competitive fight, always really dangerous, and he looked solid and strong. And I thought Spence did the right thing. I was a bit surprised how fluid he looked early on. I thought he would maybe be a bit more, like I said, cagey and everything, but I thought he looked good. I thought he maybe dropped a little bit later on. Don't know if it was just fitness levels, fatigue, whatever. I seen he said afterwards that he needs a nutritionist and strength conditioning coach, and I'm sure he had it in the past, but you know, instead of doing it on his own, that's what he said. And I think he could probably tell that he dropped off a bit. I mean, he is going to drop off if you have that high of a work rate, you know, and you're getting punched pretty solid to the body. But he said that, so that's interesting. Maybe that had something to do with the later rounds. Obviously, Danny Garcia did. But overall, I thought he looked better than I expected. I thought he looked better than I expected, but I thought he looked really, really good. And I don't think Danny Garcia looked bad at all, you know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same sentiments as you in that regard. I was very, very surprised by how good he looked. I'm not going to lie. I expected it to be a lot more competitive. Again, I know people score fights differently. I ended up scoring at 117, 111 for Spence. So I felt like Danny Garcia had a great performance in his own right, in the sense that he worked a lot harder than we've seen him work previously, but that's down to the fact that Spence was putting it on him so much that he was kind of forced to work and forced to throw a lot more punches. I know punches don't tell a fight, but the fact that Garcia had to throw more, that's not how he normally fights, is it? He's a bit more of a slow starter, but he had to kind of get going and roll with it the way Spence was coming at him. And to be fair to Spence, I got to give him even more credit, because coming off that car accident and that layoff, he looked very, very good, man. I was very surprised by how good he looked. Of course, Danny Garcia some people argue, he's made for someone like Spence, where, Garcia's not the most, the guy who with the best footwork. He's not going to, get out of the way of a lot of punches. But at the same time, I think Garcia, again, whether that's down to Spence or down to him wanting to win as much as he did, he threw a lot back and he gave it a very, very good go. So I was impressed by both of them, to be fair. Even in a loss, I think Garcia done really well. But similarly, I don't think we've ever seen Garcia sort of beaten up and dominated. I don't think we've ever seen someone be that sort of dominant against him in a victory anyway. Keith Thurman was, 1 or 2 rounds either way. The Porter fight could have gone either way. And a lot of people feel like Garcia won. He had the better work in that fight. And then obviously...
Did you think the Thurman fight was that close?
I think I had it like 8-4 or 7-5.
Yeah, I just feel like everyone this week has been saying that it was like so close. Like, I mean,
yeah, no, it wasn't that close.
It
wasn't that close. Yeah, it wasn't.
Keith is just coasting, innit?
Yeah, exactly. Coasting. It's down to Keith not doing enough in the last few rounds, rather than him actually, losing rounds. Does that make sense? He wasn't putting enough work rate into the last few rounds of that fight. But I actually thought this was a very good fight in that sense. Garcia showed grit, showed heart. And to be fair, listen, Spence was he's smacking him up quite a bit in this fight. So I got to give Danny credit. He showed a lot of resiliency in that ring. Again, Spence, going back to what you said about the strength and conditioning and even his body, he looked a lot slimmer than previous. I don't know if you agree with that. He looked a lot more slender, didn't he? I don't know if that's to do with strength and conditioning or if he lost weight over the last year. Just generally, I don't know what it is, but his whole physique looked quite different. But work rate was phenomenal. I thought man was non-stop, whether it was even if he's just like in between sort of exchanges when no one's throwing, he just decided to carry on throwing the jab. So Danny never really got a break in that sense. He use force to work, which I think... and Spence was always like stepping to him and keeping a high guard, and then he was punching off the high guard, and then he was keeping him proper guessing. There's always pressure, exactly, but it's just stepping
towards
him.
Always some sort of pressure, whether it's mental or it's foot pressure or his hands. There's a lot going on there,
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, massive credit to both of them. I thought they put on, a great performance both ways, whether it was Danny having to sort of be more active and dig deep or whether it's Spence having to just, show us that, you know what, I'm still here. I'm still arguably the number one guy in the division. And this is what I can do against arguably, top 5 welterweight in a comeback fight after 14 months. I thought that was a brilliant performance. I was very, very surprised by how good he looked. And like I said, nothing but credit to both men. I think also in terms of how the fight went, I don't know about you. Obviously, the fact you can hear the corners a lot more now. I didn't feel like Angel was giving him any sort of advice in terms of boxing, which also similarly, which we're going to get onto later on with the Yarde and Arthur fight, it reminded me a bit of what Tunde did. I don't feel like Angel had much to say in the sense that, do this or do that. I know you're telling him, oh, you need to, get off the ropes. Don't let him do the pity pat. He said that about 3 or 4 times consecutively from like round 8 to round 12. He kept saying it, don't let him pity pat you on the ropes. But that's not, for me as a boxing fan, that wasn't constructive enough. There has to be something else that a coach can give you to, if a fight is sort of stagnating through the fight, there needs to be some other plan to, change the fight. I don't know if you agree or if you get what I'm trying to say, but that's what I felt anyway.
I mean, I agree in terms of, what a coach needs to say in terms of in this fight. I thought, well, his most of what he said was that he wanted Danny to, after he was slipping, to counter more, which, I mean, that is exactly what he needed, because there was some times where he was bending his waist, like he was countering really well, but there was also a lot of spots where he should have, but that's because Spence is going to make him. So basically what I'm saying is, like you were saying before, Spence made him work, and this is a Garcia that had a pretty high output, more than what we used to seeing, but his dad wanted him to have even more, right? And there was moments where I can see where his dad was mentioning it. It was basically where he was bending his waist and kind of dipping low and whatever. And there was opportunities where he kind of let Spence move off the side or whatever, or Spence maybe got the last 2 shots in an exchange. His dad wanted him to be more like he was, and this is what he said, I'm not guessing. His dad said he wanted him to be more like he was in the last round, right? So in between rounds, that's what he was trying to say too with the output. So I thought, what else could he possibly have said, I mean, output, there's nothing else really he could have told him. I'll stay off the ropes and output. What else? He was trying to gear him up to throw a bit more when he was trying to counter more. And I thought it was all right advice. I don't think there was anything else you could tell him. Obviously Garcia needed to do something totally different to beat Spence, but he's not the fighter to do that. So he's going to do what he needs to do, and that is just let more shots go and be way more aggressive and go for broke more, which is what his dad wanted. So I don't think it was like bad advice.
It wasn't bad advice. I just felt like there was maybe something more than to be said. But again, like you said, Garcia isn't that guy. He was already kind of fighting out his skin anyway. So in that sense, and again, the point that you made about him sort of dipping low from the waist and sort of pivoting out and swapping, when they were sort of changing angles, both of them, there were quite a few points where Garcia made Spence miss, and then there was no punches thrown. He probably should have, tried to get a few shots in. I agree with that completely as well. But Spence, man, the guy's activity and his engine that on Saturday were brilliant. I thought, for a guy who's had been through a potentially life-altering accident and been out the ring for that long. Very, very high output. So I know we've spoken about the whole Terence Crawford thing. Terence Crawford was there in the crowd, and for the first time we've seen PBC actually acknowledge him in terms of, I know this one mattered to you, you're more of an in-ring guy, but I mean, from the politics side, they've never shown the WBO champion of a division, and they've never shown Terence Crawford, or even very, very rarely mentioned the guy, but the fact they showed him on camera. Yeah, they showed him on camera. They had a graphic showing him as one of the 4 world champions in the division, 3 world champions in the division, right? Alongside Pacquiao and Spence. So these are all positive signs that whether that means he's going to PBC or not, it's showing that at least they're acknowledging him now, which is, again, a step in the right direction. I don't think we're going to get the fight in 2021. I think it's 2022 personally. But at least they're showing that, this is going to happen at some point, So that was definitely a positive, even if it wasn't major. To me, I thought it was a fairly big deal that they actually acknowledged him and showed him and stuff. It
wasn't until Spence's post-fight speech, then that was kind of killed it all off, right? You know what I mean?
Literally, yeah. I was about to say that. Why would you, after that performance where you came back and you've just beaten a top 5 welterweight with a resume like Danny Garcia, why would you not take that time to then take advantage of the platform you've got as well? Because this is going to do another 200, 300K buys. It's a lot, a lot of people are going to watch this, whether even the people like us who, streamed it online. People want to see that fight. They want to see you call each other out. Yeah. Do you remember that video online of those two at that fight where they're both standing there with the hoods on talking?
Yeah,
and
sick.
That was a brilliant watch. It's about 11 minutes long. I've watched that about 10 times. They really work well when they're playing off each other. So if they played it clever, these two could have a mad build up to their fight, man. But for whatever reason, Spence said, I'm
But
not
I
interested.
do think they will. Yeah. But I
They
think
want Pacquiao.
right
This
now,
is the issue. They don't Pacquiao sit around.
no. Do you know what I think the issue is? Honestly, I think basically it's a bit of a miscommunication. Yeah, because I was angry first, but then reading Spence's Twitter today and looking at his reaction for what he said in the post fight, in the conference, not in the ring, but in the conference where he said, "Why is Crawford here if he's not worried about me?" That's like he was answering back to something there. And then I remembered when Crawford said, "I don't need Spence for my legacy. I'm not worried about him." But he didn't mean in a way where like, fuck Spence. He just said that I've accomplished a lot, which is true when you think about it in terms of weight classes. And that's like, it's like Crawford had a total different career already. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Spence was replying to that, right? And because today he said, like, I'm playing chess, not like I'm playing checkers. And he's like, and he was like, everyone's going to fight. Did he get the hints he was kind of throwing off?
Of course,
today? He could see in it, people getting pissed off at him. So I think it's a bit of posturing. And listen, this fight's going to happen, man. Like, I've listened to some podcasts this week just crying about why I didn't call him out. Listen, if the fight's going to happen, who cares about who's going to call each other out? If Al Heyman or whatever, however this shit works, yeah, if they haven't actually, if Spence hasn't approached whoever, they haven't approached him or Top Rank, whatever, if they haven't approached each other and the fight's never been talked about, then why would he just call him out when there's no line of contact? Do you understand? Like, I hate that stuff anyway. So if there has been a line of contact and they start talking, then it gets interesting, right? But if it isn't, and there's more posturing going on right now, and speaking of age, I don't think these fighters are gonna be finished at 35. Like I really think they're gonna go into 30. I think these athletes, after the Mayweather era, plus they don't get hit that much, right? They've got really good defense these days, especially these two fighters. I mean, I do think the fight can build a bit more. I do think that. I think if Crawford fights Sean Porter and he fights Manny, then I do think that the fight can get bigger. And I'm so sure they're going to fight. There's no doubt they're going to fight. I just can't be.
I think they'll fight as well. I think it's 2022. I don't think it happens.
But remember Canelo Golovkin? People were crying about.
Yeah. And then it happens a year and a half later.
What's the other one? Ward Kovalev. Remember?
Yeah.
It's like it's going to happen.
The money's there. It's going to get made. It's just a matter of when.
The money is actually not there right now. I don't think as much as it should be.
Maybe not right now, but as in they know that this fight.
It's building. The money's going to building day by day.
It's going to be that big fight.
I want to see it next, but I don't mind seeing Sean Paul if he's going to fight, and if Spencer's going to fight Pacquiao.
Because listen, we've got a lot more questions about Crawford than we have about Spencer. If that makes sense in terms of welterweight.
At 147, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so in that sense, I'd love to see Sean Porter go against Crawford and see what sort of stylistic problems he causes him, because no one ever, we've always said this, no one ever has it easy against Porter, and that's credit to him. Whether he wins, loses, whatever it is, he gives a heavy performance every time. So that will definitely be a good fight to see if he does eventually go over to PBC or not.
And I'm liking these little mind games, to be honest. I'm liking that Spence is not really saying shit proper, and Crawford's like, I think it's getting interesting.
Yeah.
So
the narrative is building up nicely now. So I think, and again, realistically, let's be honest, even though we just want to see them fight, we want to see them fight in a big stadium full of people, right? So
it has to be a massive fight.
Next year might be a write-off for that.
Why not for the undisputed?
Yeah. So let Pacquiao and Spence fight. If Spence should beat Pacquiao or whatever.
Or Crawford.
Get all the belts together and make it undisputed. Can you imagine how historical that would be?
That would be crazy. The one thing that's pissing me off, is that Spence is sometimes feeling himself a bit too much, in my opinion, right? In terms of who's the bigger star. And it's like, mate,
it's not much.
Listen, just the thing is, you've had just a better path. Your path, Crawford could have done the exact same shit as you. Crawford, whatever Spence has done, Crawford could have done the same, right? There's no one that Spence has beat that Crawford can't beat.
Absolutely.
So you just got lucky that you were at the right stable. How did you even meet Al Heyman? You don't know how you met Al Heyman. You could have been like, you were at Floyd's gym. I don't know how it worked, but that's just luck, right? So if Crawford would have been with Al Heyman and he would have been at 147 at the same time as you, he would have fought Kell Brook and done the same stuff. So you've beat Mikey Garcia. That's your first pay-per-view. That's his first pay-per-view, Spencer's, right? Are you telling me Crawford, Mikey Garcia wouldn't be a massive fight? Of course, it's a big fight because he was moving up 2 weight, and Spencer's a big guy, right? The factor was a bit of the weight difference, and Crawford, they wouldn't have said it's as big, even though it's moving up the same weight classes. But it would have still been a massive fight. And that drives a lot of numbers. That's how he could go to Cowboy Stadium and do that.
Another factor is that Spence is very big in Texas, isn't it? So he can
go. Yeah, I mean, it's his hometown, isn't it?
Exactly. Whereas,
but I'm just saying, Spence versus, let's say before Mikey, if that was someone else, like Jeff Horn or whoever, Crawford fight, you wouldn't have sold as many pay-per-views either. You needed Mikey Garcia.
Mikey Garcia's big name.
Listen, everyone needs that, right? Yeah. But Crawford, they put him on pay-per-view against Postol.
Yeah, no one knew him.
Do you understand? Like, that's bad. It's just bad in general, which wouldn't happen if he was on that side.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then you get a pay-per-view against Mikey Garcia, which of course you're going to do massive numbers, right? And then the next one, what is Sean Porter? Are you telling me Crawford, Sean Porter wouldn't do big numbers, wouldn't be a sick fight?
Big fight, yeah.
So it's like, Spence, you listen, yeah, you are a star, okay, cool. But the fighters you've beat, Crawford could beat. That's just the truth, okay? The fighters you've beat have already all been beaten already. Mikey Garcia was your first win against someone who's undefeated. And look at the size. I mean, we know what happened there, the weight difference or whatever. So I just feel like this is what Crawford was saying, and I agree with him. Look, Danny Garcia was a good fight for Spence, but who's Danny Garcia beat at 147? He's not beat anyone besides Robert Guerrero, which is, I mean, what do you even call that win? That's really the truth.
Yeah.
So I just
he beat him for the title, for the vacant title, didn't he? That was it.
Yeah, so I just feel like this should be 50-50 fight. And that's what I'm saying. If Crawford gets Pacquiao, then he's got 2 belts and he just beat Pacquiao. I don't think it's going to happen, honestly. I don't think Pacquiao's going to fight. But if Crawford goes that direction, gets the belt, gets a big-ass fight, all of a sudden, you're the man. You know what I mean? Because I just don't like, I think Spence is kind of like, why are you calling him up with 60-40 and all that shit? He started all that talk. Like, with the 60-40 talk, you know why this fight all of a sudden was talking like it's not going to happen? It's because Spence said it's 60-40. That's why this whole little issue happened, and then Crawford come out and says this, and then it's miscommunication. They're talking over interviews. You know, we've seen this with Mayweather Pacquiao. Once they talked for 5 minutes, the fight was done. So I think that's what's going to happen at the end of the day. And listen, okay, let's just look at their next fights. Who can they possibly fight? I don't think Pacquiao's going to fight either of them. Realistically, I don't think Pacquiao's going to fight.
I think he's a lot more likely to fight Spence than he is Crawford.
Yeah, but why are we saying that? What do we base that off?
Number one, he's been with PBC. And number two, I think he probably feels like he can win that fight more than Crawford. He avoided Crawford to begin with.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we think that, because we already know that he's avoided Crawford, right? But if he's avoided Crawford, I'm pretty sure he would avoid Spence too.
I don't think that, you know.
I think for them, they know if Crawford's a dangerous fighter, why is Spence not a dangerous fighter?
No, I think out of the two of them, Pacquiao would fancy Spence.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think out of the two of them, he's a lot more likely to fight Spence.
Yeah, he's one of them because Crawford said that he was close to having the fight, and then Mikey Garcia
I don't think he's fighting. I don't think he's fighting. Yeah, or Mikey Garcia. Pacquiao's going to go for Mikey Garcia.
I think Pacquiao will more realistically, if they have any brains, is what I'm saying. Fight Mikey Garcia. Yeah, and fight Conor McGregor or whatever. Yeah,
but we want to see the belt in it. He's got the belt, so he needs to either vacate the belt.
Of course, then he just needs to vacate the belt,
which he's not going to.
If not, then like you said before, the Spence, Pacquiao, Crawford,
Porter,
Porter, that would be perfect. And then semi-finals, and let's go.
Let's go for the big one.
I mean,
for those two, as much as it's all posturing and talking at this point, right? When they're saying, "Oh, I don't need this guy, I don't need that guy." These two, I think they do need each other. Yeah.
Yeah, they know it too,
and they know it as well. So this is part of the game. It's all part of the game. Yeah. Think about. Obviously, by the time they fight, they're both going to be like 35 and 32 or 33, whatever the age gap is. I think he's 2 or 3 years older than Crawford. But look at back in the days when Leonard and Hearns fought, and they were both in their 20s, early 20s. What a fight that was! This has the makings of that, except obviously they're just a bit older. But it's that type of fight for me. That's our generation. We're getting that. You know, Mayweather Pacquiao came way too late, and they were both too old and stylistically didn't match up right. These two, can you imagine what a fight this is going to be?
You know what? I actually can't. Because magnitude of it, I can, right? Yeah. Like, I can imagine how big, but stylistically, I just think that this fight is going to go, I think maybe the later round, then maybe there'll be a flow to it based on who's like behind, because someone might have to chase and someone might have to, like, you know what I mean? But in terms of how the fight's going to go, it's a bit like Joshua Fury to me. I have no idea. I think it's going to go every way, anytime, at any moment. You know what I mean?
They're going to have to show every bit of skill they got. Yeah,
it's just going to be, a constant chess match in everywhere, inside, outside, pressure, back foot.
Like, you know, with me, I've always been, whenever me and you spoke about Spence and Crawford in particular, I've always said I feel like Crawford wins hands down. I don't see it any other way. That doesn't
hands down.
No, what? Let me finish. What I mean is, whenever I've said to you, I've always felt pretty much 99.9% that Crawford's going to win because he's got too much in his locker. And it's not to say that Spencer's a bad fighter. I just felt like he would have too much in him. But this weekend has made it a lot closer for me. I didn't expect him to look the way he looked. I thought after the crash he might not be the same, and you know there might be a bit of a difference. But the man came on very, very strong and looked brilliant. So it's become a bit closer for me to the bit where I'm a bit less hesitant. Sorry, a bit more hesitant than I was before. But I still feel like Crawford would sneak a win somehow. I don't know how. But at the same time, if Spence knocked him out, I would not be surprised. So it's one of them fights where it's going to be very, very intriguing to see how it goes. You know, but like you said, they're the top two guys. They're the top two guys of this era, and they're the guys we need to get in the ring. Unfortunately, our boy one time has been left out in the cold. No one knows what the fuck's going to happen with him and how he factors back in. Yeah, I think he's finished now. I think he might have 1 or 2 more fights. He's gone. The way he's taking a year and a half, 2 years out at a time, I don't think he's got long left. You know what I mean? We got to be realistic.
So you wouldn't be surprised if Spence knocked Crawford out? Like, you wouldn't be surprised?
What I mean by that is Spence is relentless and he hits very hard and he's a bigger man. Yeah. So if he knocked Crawford out, I can't rule that as an option. You know what I mean? That wouldn't shock me. But I still feel Crawford finds a way to win, whether it's a knockout or stoppage.
I agree, yeah. I think
you see what I'm saying? I just feel like he's got too much in his locker.
Too much in his locker, isn't it?
Too much in his locker. Like with Spence now, let's go back to the Garcia fight for a second, yeah? We saw his style, relentless work rate, yeah? He's on him, jab, body shots and whatnot. That's his style, and he's done that in a lot of fights. You know, the way he fights, just, you know, he's just relentless with his work rate and strong, big, strong guy, blah, blah, blah. I think me and you had this conversation before where I said, yes, Spence is a good fighter and he's got these strengths to his game, but I feel like Crawford's got that other level, man. He's like Josh Taylor. They've got that mean streak, and I'm sure Errol's got a mean streak, but Crawford's mean streak is blatant. You can see it in his face, whereas Errol Spence just looks like he's doing his job, if that makes sense. He's going through the motions in the ring, doing, you know, sticking to his game plan the way he fights. Whereas Crawford, this guy can go left, can go right, ambidextrous. He's got this, he's got that. There's so many different things he can do, and he just looks like he's having so much fun in there. And he just looks like a mean bastard. And I know that a lot of that is to do with facial expressions through all that, but you can just see with Crawford, there's something special about him. And Spence, to a degree, special in his own right at this point. But I just feel like out of these two guys, Crawford is that guy. I think he has the beating of Spence in some way or another. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means. I think it's going to be a very, very tricky fight for either man. But I think Crawford sneaks a win somehow.
So what do you mean by comparing him to Josh Taylor?
I was comparing Terence Crawford mean streak.
Yeah, so I'm saying not in terms of personality, but in terms of fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying is, you know how Josh Taylor can literally just put the pace up on a fight and slow the pace down, and kind of Spence, you can say, it's a bit more one pace, like his
bang on.
That's what I was like. I so agree with that. I think that's the difference between them. Is like Spence controls the pace, but it's a certain pace.
Yeah, it's got to be his pace.
Crawford can go in a slow-ass pace and
then pick up out of nowhere.
You know, if he does go in a slow-ass pace whenever he wants against Spence and can keep Spence kind of chasing, and I do think, like you said, I think Crawford just got more weapons, and with that pace shifting thing, that's really interesting.
And the switching of stances as well. If he can go southpaw with him, then, you know, there's so many different things he can do. This is what I mean, which is why we want to see the fight so badly, you know what I mean? So, of course, look, Spence is the bigger, stockier guy, but then this weekend he came in quite slim and slender, so it's there might not be that much in it. Of course, he's the bigger guy anyway, but I mean, getting in the ring on fight night, there might not be that much in it in terms of size differential at that point, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just something we have to see.
You have to see on the night, isn't it? That could be anything. But yeah, look, this fight, we can talk about that for hours, but right now, it's not happening right now, but let's just hope we get it ASAP. So what do you think realistically is next for Danny Garcia now that he's taken this loss?
No idea, but I wouldn't mind seeing Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia fight. That's a sick fight. Because
I don't think Mike is a welterweight. I know he beat Jesse Vargas, and that was a tough fight for him.
That's what I'm saying. That's what make it competitive. You know what I mean?
The fact that he's given
I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah, Garcia versus Garcia. I think the spoke about it last year.
It was gonna happen. Yeah, it was gonna happen once. I was really looking forward to it. That was a sick fight. Really good fight.
Either way, look, Garcia's had a brilliant career. He's coming towards the end now. You know what I mean? He's had a great career. He's given us some good fights. You know what I mean? So nothing but respect for Danny Garcia, whatever his next move is. And obviously the Birdman. The Birdman. As much as we can get the Birdman, we're happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's rewind on Saturday now. Let's go back to the UK. We saw Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde for the Commonwealth and WBO International Light Heavyweight Championships. Now, obviously, there's been quite a bit of controversy, which I don't think is really necessary. The fight itself was fairly there wasn't much going on, if that makes sense. It wasn't the most, exciting fight.
There was a lot going on with nothing going on.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's the way to put it. There was a lot happening, but also at the same time, not much happening. I told you on the night when we texted, I said to you, I felt Arthur nicked it. I don't think that, again, there wasn't a massive amount between the two. For me, I felt Arthur's jab was consistent, and that kept, Yarde at bay. It wasn't a commanding jab like Kovalev, but it was a good solid jab that had, Yarde at bay for, large portions of the fight. And at the same time, I think Yarde didn't do himself any favors with his Philly shell posturing and sort of, the stupid hand movements he does and these little things he does that were unnecessary. They didn't add anything to the fight. I appreciate, yes, he, in a lot of ways, those are the ways that he feints and he's trying to, draw a punch from Arthur to then counter over, right? He landed a few right hands as well. But I don't think really Anthony Yarde had any way to say he won the fight outside of, I tried to make the fight and I came forward and whatnot. And the 12th round, obviously, he landed on him a bit, but you can't just leave it all to the end like that. The consistency of the fight was that Arthur kept him at bay with the jab. And clearly his right hand was injured, whether he said it or not. He threw it a few times in the fight, but you could tell there wasn't much on it, kind of thing. So the story of the fight was really that Arthur's jab kind of won him the fight. I don't know about you. I don't think you'll agree with me, but I feel like the jab in the last few years, the jab has kind of lost a bit of respect. What I mean by that is the jab is a key punch in boxing, and a lot of people don't respect the jab and don't think you can win a fight off a jab anymore. Do you see what I'm going with this? A lot of fights where fighters are jabbing, and I completely appreciate that if someone's just jabbing and hasn't thrown a right hand the whole fight, and the other guy is throwing and is landing, then of course they land their power punches and their jabs. Realistically, depending on the overall how the fight went, then you're going to go with the guy who did more of the the criteria for winning a fight, right? So you go with the guy who landed his power punches, landed his jabs, and controlled the fight in that sense. But if a guy is jabbing the way Lyndon Arthur jabbed, where Anthony Yarde didn't do anything, then he's done that. But at the same time, Arthur was quite negative and he looked scared at points. You know what I mean? So I can understand both sides of it, but I felt Arthur nicked it. What were your thoughts on the fight and how it went?
So Arthur nicked it. Probably 1, 2 rounds, 3 rounds maybe. So when they were like walking in, I thought, right, okay, so what's going to happen now? And I thought, look, so this guy's got a good jab, right? But the issue is, the way I was thinking of him having a good jab is obviously we've seen Yarde's fight against Kovalev, and aside from just the magnitude of the fight for Yarde and like the step up and everything, technically he was getting hit with a jab, which obviously we've seen everyone get hit with Kovalev's jab, but sometimes he was getting hit a bit too easy, right? And we didn't really see any adjustment. So, and then I remember Tunde saying after that, we were going to pull it, something like that. So, okay. So when this fight started, and I thought, wow, okay, he's feigning, like he keeps stepping back and keeping that distance. I thought, right, so if this guy can keep it up and not go for it, I think he can win. But I thought in my head, no, it's just not going to happen. It's impossible. It's like, I just didn't think that he would be able to keep it up and be not negative, but keep it as a jab. Because why I said that, because you throw a right hand, you sometimes go with your front foot. We've seen Anthony Yarde, amazing counterpuncher. Crazy counterpuncher, good power, very good power, explosive as hell, right? So I just thought, right, this guy's gonna end up making mistakes. And then obviously, Lyndon Arthur, like you said, he looked a bit scared, so he's twitching a lot in the beginning. Obviously, that's just because of Yarde's profile and power and explosiveness. So I thought, oh, fucking hell, this guy's gonna, drop his hands at the wrong point and Yarde's gonna set him up with a big punch. But once you start getting confidence with the jab, I thought, wow, this guy's really gonna do it. I was really, I was surprised in a way because I thought that he would have changed something from the Kovalev fight, right? Because they were already talking about Lyndon's jab because of that other fight when he beat that guy, which like was named Dex Spellman, and they're all keep talking about Dex Spellman this week. You know, like they both fought Kovalev or something. I was just like, wow, this is what this fight's based on. Dex Spellman, that's crazy. So, you know, when he said that the Mayweather posturing and the shoulder things and the shimmies and all that, it's like he was doing that against Kovalev at some points, and I just sometimes I get it to you want to draw the lead, you know, that's so true, and that's what he does all the time, especially against lesser fighters, less caliber fighters than this guy or Kovalev. You know, they fall for the bait every time, and that's how he gets them to open up. But I just thought that after the Kovalev fight, clearly you must have worked on a very specific thing, yeah. Like the biggest issue he had. So do you know Chris Eubank Jr. when he was on the scene? Do you not feel like this guy reminds you of Chris Eubank Jr. a bit, or is that just me?
No. There was a tweet that went out that I retweeted saying the same thing. They've got very similar.
Really?
Yeah, they've got a very similar sort of story, haven't they? A lot of potential, great physical amateur specimens. Yeah, hardly an amateur background. And you can see that these lot can do bits. They could actually do bits if they listen to. I'm not saying Anthony Yarde doesn't listen to Tunde, but forget Tunde, we'll talk about him afterwards. But I mean, you know, Chris Eubank Jr. had the factor that I don't have a trainer, I do my own thing, which is completely nonsensical, doesn't make any sense at all. And then you've got Anthony Yarde, who's with a clown like Tunde, which, yes, of course, to some extent, he's done well with him, but he's not the right guy for him who's going to nurture him and take him to the next level. You know what I mean? And they need to act fast when it comes to that, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. There should be improvements made and continue. I know you
Chris Eubank Jr.'s biggest issue, right, is a one very specific issue, and it was when someone's jabbing you, right? They both kind of do the same thing. I think Yarde's maybe a bit better, but they have an issue where so their feet get in place, but the upper body is dancing to a different song, right? And now, you know, I'm a massive Andre Ward fan. You like, so Andre Ward is like the main fighter to watch to teach you how to get inside a long jab, how to cut distance from a long jab. And what Yarde does with the shimmies and that, it's actually counterproductive in that moment when he's trying to land his own jab, because he's not putting himself in the right position. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like he knows he needs to land his own jab, but he's too busy just I mean, I don't know what it is he's trying to do, because sometimes I get he's trying to draw the lead, but there's a battle of a jab right now. Like he doesn't understand, and it's the same thing against Kovalev. He doesn't understand how to slip on the inside or slip on the outside and land your jab when he's fighting someone with a longer jab than his. Because Lyndon was stepping back, which is the issue. If Lyndon didn't step back, then and sometimes he didn't, and he did catch you with the right hand or the jab when the distance was there. But when he has to cut distance, same thing Chris Eubank Jr., they have a major issue with moving their feet. So I do think Anthony Yarde got better feet, so I don't want to be too unfair to him and say he's like Chris Eubank Jr. But Anthony Yarde does not, even when he throws his jab, is too far away. Do you know, it's such a snappy, fast jab, but you know, it's like you see a spider on the wall and you're scared to hit it. It's like, step in with it, man. You're not connecting. He's never actually connecting with the jab because he's too busy posturing and trying to avoid the jab. It's like you have to get your head on the inside. And it's a very specific technical thing that he could have won him the fight. You know, he could have stopped Lyndon's jab a lot easier because he didn't have any answers. Sometimes he was putting his head on the outside, trying to come over with the right hand, and it's like he's trying to be too slick all the time instead of just doing the fundamentals a la Chris Eubank Jr. You know, even though I do think, like, again, Anthony Yarde has better straight punches and he's better trained, definitely. But the mindset even starting to be similar, you know, because in the lead up to this fight, they were talking about the jab, and he didn't. His attitude towards it was like this guy's crack boxing, like, I mean. So let's get into the after. But I thought Lyndon did exactly what he had to do, and I was just sat there and I said, "Stop, fuck's sake, bro! Do not commit to your right hand." I was happy he hurt his right hand. If he didn't hurt his right hand, I don't think he would have won this fight. How crazy is that? You know what I'm saying? I agree,
because if he started throwing with him, he could have caught something big.
And every time he did, he got caught.
Yeah.
You know, that one right hand he landed when Tunde said that he hurt his right hand, and you gotta cut him some slack there. That's just crazy bad timing, right? That's just a bit of bad luck there that he said it and then he got cracked with the right hand. But the way he hit him with the right hand and then kept his lead hand and stepped backwards, that's the only way he could keep his right hand in the fight if he was going to throw it. Because the way he did it was really good, because he kind of, moved away from Yarde's counter. But then he did it a second after and he got cracked. When Yarde rolled it and came back, and I just thought, no, do not.
Don't throw it away now after all this,
Yeah, just don't. And that's
that's what I thought. As we got to the last few rounds, I thought, this is it now.
He's going to throw it away, innit? And then he's going to sit.
Yarde's going to get him on the ropes, and then he's got no right hand, so what's he going to do?
And then these are going to be so buzzing after the fight, you know what I mean?
Which wouldn't have been a win's a win, and if you knock someone out even in the 12th round. But as boxing fans, if someone's beat you that much through, all these rounds, you haven't won the boxing match, have you? You've knocked the guy out, but you get a point, and it's one of them ones.
Yeah.
As a boxing fan, you feel sorry for the guy who was actually doing well. It's one of them ones, isn't it?
Yeah. So at the end of it, I'm really happy Lyndon won. I was fucking jumping. I was like, yes, you know what I mean?
You deserved that, man. You deserved it. I thought you
definitely deserved it. And the way he fucking, you know what? Listen, the last since the Kovalev fight, before that, Yarde has like, when I see him, the way he just talks and licks his lips all the time. Listen, you can do whatever you want, but there's something about him which he's too full of himself. For me personally, like, I'm sick of seeing interviews with him with his fucking chest in my face. Like, what you doing, bro? Put a shirt on. You know what I mean? But like, you're not Instagram model. You're a boxer. Just get that in your head, firstly. And the way he boxed does not remind you of someone who's like he's trying to show more than
actually
do. You just do the dirty bit, bro. Like, you want to look good all the time.
Yeah.
There's something there, and when you look at his pad work and everything, you could just see it there. But anyway, my point is, like, after the fight, the way he acted towards Lyndon, Lyndon, the way the last round went, you've seen him open up, right, when he got buzzed. And as soon as he opened up, when he tried to land that uppercut from outside, that's like suicide against someone like Yarde, you know what I mean? Because the one thing about Yarde, he is a very explosive counter puncher, and he's got obviously good power and everything, but when he was doing that at the end, that's why, because I listened to the interview today, he said based on the last round, I kind of had an idea where, I thought I might have lost the fight. And when you're in a fight, a lot of fighters are like that. They don't really know how it's scored. They kind of don't, to see a bit blurry or whatever. Cool. The way Yarde's acting, and he's saying that, I went up to him and he wasn't even really celebrating proper. He thought that it's a close fight, he might have lost. And that's why I went to the mic and took charges. Like, mate, that's so disrespectful. Let the guy have his moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's a close fight. Do you know what I mean? He literally just stood in front of him at the post-fight thing and I thought that was so, that's a dick move. You know what I mean?
To, like, proper
entitled.
Yeah.
Proper entitled behavior.
It's because he's the star, and he said he's thinking, I've been robbed here, which he wasn't.
So let's get into this now,
Yeah.
Let's just start with his whole career, okay? I don't think I've ever seen a career as badly managed as this.
Absolutely.
Honestly. Every single fight, and think about it. Box Nation days, think about it. Okay, go back. Forget BT. BT, we didn't hear about BT back then. Back then, they would say, he's only had 30 amateur fights. He's only had 30 amateur fights. Remember Frank Warren? He's stepping up. Now he's good. Now it's a southpaw. It's like, you know what I mean? That's like 3 years ago, he fought a southpaw or something. So they kept talking about this step up every single time that he has a next fight to sell him for the next fight. And he's never ever had it, right? And they throw him in against Kovalev, and he was horrible against Kovalev.
But listen, on that point, sorry to cut you off. It's on the Kovalev point. Do you not think that was a cherry pick gone wrong on their part? They thought he's finished.
Proper cherry pick gone wrong. You know what?
And then he got battered.
Tunde was saying today that was the best fight at 175. The most
he wasn't.
Fight.
He lost and he came back and won the belt back.
A middleweight knocked him out. A middleweight.
2 months later, yeah.
A middleweight knocked him out. And you are a light heavyweight, arguably coming down from cruiserweight. You can't even you didn't even drop him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You got out, like, listen, if it was like a close fight and if he had a good defense, you didn't have a good defense. You got smashed up by a jab. And okay, so just in terms of the way he's been managed and in terms of opponents and Tunde today was saying that basically, you know, what they've done. He took him to a world title fight. You didn't go to a world title fight, right? You didn't go to a fight. You basically tried to you jumped to a world title fight. You didn't deserve a world title.
Nope.
In which world did Anthony Yarde deserve a world title?
For no one at domestic level either.
He's not even beat. Lyndon Arthur was the perfect fight to do. Why didn't he do it before? And he's like talking about, oh, he's a millionaire. Yeah, but this isn't about making money. This is about
him
boxing.
spinning the narrative, innit? He's trying to spin the narrative to take away from the loss. Yeah. Oh, we made money now. Don't chat shit, man.
But that's a major problem right there. Do you know what I mean? Talking in that way where you're trying to basically talk about how much money you've made and all this and all that.
You know something,
Lyndon Arthur.
You know something.
But just think about it for 1 second. He lost to Lyndon Arthur, and he's been acting, and the way he's been pumped up is unreal. This guy has walked around with this entitled behavior as if he's literally Floyd Mayweather. I mean, no, it's like they literally talk about everything and boxing like they've been there and done it. You done fuck all. You went to fight Kovalev, and you did nothing against Kovalev besides 1 round. All right? And Kovalev was done. He got knocked out by a guy who got knocked out by Joe Smith. Says it all. All right? And then you fought Lyndon Arthur and you couldn't even get past the jab. Like, just,
no improvements were made.
It's unbelievable. The same issue you kind of had against Kovalev with the jab, a different jab, albeit, but still, you haven't learned nothing. He thought he put the pace down against Dex Spellman, and that's what you learn. Like Dex Spellman, you're talking like, then he's like, oh, he's an Adidas ambassador and all this stuff. Listen,
no one gives a shit about that. Listen,
the guy, has been, these prospects these days, they get too much money
too early,
and they like, just think about it 1 second, bro. And what's Anthony Yarde's best win?
Exactly. I don't know.
He's literally done nothing in boxing. I'm not even lying to you. He's done nothing in boxing, and he's been around for 5 years, and he's a millionaire. Just think about it for a second. His whole team and everyone looks up to him in the street, in the hood. It's like, bro, it looks good. Look, it looks good if people see him. He's a good ass looking guy. You know, he looks like he's it, but he's not. He looks like he's it, but he's not.
Yeah, financially he's fine, but from a boxing point of view, he's done fuck all.
But he's this inspiration to people because they see him knock bubbles out.
Yeah.
Like, get that into your head. That's literally, what's his best win? We don't know his best win.
Don't know.
We don't know his best win. So the way that his perception has become this killer and whatever, I mean, it's crazy. You know, it's actually crazy that UK boxing, you can make it so far from doing fuck all for like 5 years. And I mean, it's just insane how badly, boxing wise, opponent wise, this is a horrible career management, honestly.
Completely agree. And I think the first podcast we did when we spoke about Joshua Buatsi's fight, and we kind of spoke about these two and who we thought was better and whatnot. But I've been saying this to you for a long time. I don't even rate Anthony. I know there's certain things that he does well and he's got potential, but because he hasn't shown us anything, I don't rate this guy. You know what I mean? Yes, like I said, it's potential is one thing, but if he doesn't accomplish anything, then we can't just rely on this potential that we see until he does something. You get what I'm saying? Joshua Buatsi gets a bit more slack because he's not at that level yet. He's still going through the motions of getting to European and then world level. But I'd put a lot more faith in Joshua Buatsi, a guy who does the basics very well, than a guy who's posturing and doing all this funky shit but not actually doing the basics properly. Do you get my point?
Yeah, he's, like I said, he's boxing like an Instagram model, man.
It don't make sense. Yeah, there's no point being okay. Yes, of course, there's two sides to it. Like you just said, you can be a millionaire without having done much, or you can be a Joshua Buatsi who's going to do well in the sport. I think anyway. I don't know how far he will go, but I think he's going to be a world champion. I think he's going to do well, and he's being managed properly. That last fight he just had. What did we say?
He's already had tougher fights.
Yeah, exactly. What did we say in his last fight? What did we say? We said against Challenge that one fight alone is better than anything else he's had because it's put him in the deep end for that for a year at the ring to come back and have that fight and bust your eye and everything and come through it. That he showed a lot of heart. He showed everything that you want to see in a champion. And again, it doesn't mean we're questioning Anthony Yarde's heart, but there's clearly something wrong there. Something needs to change. There needs to. And if you look, what's that quote that they say? The definition of insanity is doing everything the same and expecting a different result, whatever it is. I haven't got it right, but you get my point. And that is what Anthony Yarde needs to do. And of course, it's like when someone loses a football match, they blame the coach, don't they? When results don't change. And for what happened on Saturday night, realistically, if Anthony Yarde stepped forward and let his hands go more, he should have won that fight. based on
Yeah.
this guy having an injured hand as well. So he's already got one hand out of commission. The guy's fighting you with one
Or
hand.
cut the ring off.
Yeah, do something to show you've got some basic boxing skills.
Yeah, do something else, yeah.
Put pressure on him in another way then. Make him think more. Yeah?
Let's get into the corner advice then, because Tunde did say that. He did say that. You know, I've seen a lot of people say that, you know, the lines in the comment, and listen, I fucking laugh at that shit, but he did say you need to get closer, and they did talk about landing the overhand right and setting it up with the body shot. So you got to give him that. That's what he said. You know what I mean? He did say that. He did say, but then again, it's like, you know, when he was talking to Anthony, it's like, how do you feel? Like, fantastic. You know, and when he was going to the corner, it's like, just focus on your fucking boxing, man. Why is he always trying to stunt? You know what I mean? You see when he was dancing on the corner because he went to the wrong corner, like.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. What the fuck are you doing? Go to your corner, you idiot. What are you doing? Like, I don't find that, especially when you're losing a fight. Well, it's like Mikey Garcia. When Spence is battering it every round, he's putting his hand up. What are you showing that, I survived the round? Because you didn't do fuck all, you didn't throw a punch. This reminded me of that, when he done that sort of shit. And this whole stupid handshake they do with this choreographed handshake every time they start the fight. Okay, that's fine, cool.
Oh, I hate that shit.
Yeah, but what are you doing? Go and win a fight, win a meaningful fight, and show us you can box. Because you know what? I believe with the right training, he can box. When someone says to him, shut the fuck up, stop doing this dumb shit, and let's get your jab on point, let's get your right hand on point, yeah? I think he can put it together, but he needs to leave Tunde. I know that's an easy thing to say.
You think he should, yeah?
Absolutely. This guy's not the guy for him. He's only making him more deluded. He's becoming like him. You know,
yeah, I think...
Did your parents ever say to you in school, don't hang around with bad kids because your company defines you and you end up doing things with them? This is the same thing. He's hanging around with the fucking idiot like Tunde. And listen, you know, they keep saying they don't spar. Do you believe that?
No.
Yeah, okay. That's all for show, probably, yeah? I was about to say I don't believe that either,
100% believe they spar.
Yeah, because you got to spar. How can you not spar?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Tunde, I don't think you should leave Tunde, you know. The only issue is I just don't get why Tunde can't see. Just if Tunde said, yeah, we have to work on the jab, the issue with the jab and how to get inside it or something, or just say, yeah, there was a few. He never acknowledges it. And, you know, he don't have to acknowledge it on camera. That was what I was thinking in the past, but show in the ring, right? But they didn't show in the ring. So I don't know if you should leave him. I think if they just work on, you know, to have a rematch with Lyndon, look, this is why you have these type of fights, okay? You see what you're not good at. It's not, you can't just see everything in the gym. Sometimes you need to see it under the lights, okay? You go there, look at Canelo, happened so many times. And you find something, oh, he's got a few flaws here and there. Okay, we need to work on that, brush him up for the next fight. Again, same thing. But they never had those fights. This is the problem. This is why everyone is called evolving. This is how the human mind works and body. You have to progress and get better. It's called training. I mean, this fucking the most common thing of the whole world. Babies show us, right? They crawl, then they walk. You know what I mean? You don't try to run. It's common basics of life. They didn't do it the right way. Okay, so now they're figuring out things that they're not good at. Maybe the Kovalev fight wasn't the best fight for him because they maybe thought it's Kovalev, it's not the jab. Do you understand? Now, maybe, hopefully, they know it's the jab. Tunde, I don't know what he can improve on if he goes to a different coach. You know what I mean? So, like, in terms of, the only thing I can see that is this the jab and the moving in and slipping the jab better and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think he should just stay.
Again, I don't have a specific...
The delusional part, I totally agree with. I'm speaking technically, right? But that personality part, I think it might be important to have someone else on board, maybe to have a different opinion. But yeah, I think
ego won't ever allow that.
Yeah.
Then his whole persona goes out the window. Then because if he lets someone else come in, his whole personas are going out the window.
Exactly
you get
what I was thinking.
And the thing for me now about Yarde, physical specimen, he's got potential, and he, like me and you said, there's something about him that you look at him and say, you know what, he can do something. Yeah, I don't know how good or how far he can go. Yeah, but there's something about him. He's got some things that he does well. I think he needs a technical coach to come in, a guy who properly knows his boxing.
Who
can, I don't know. This is the thing.
First trainer comes to your head. First trainer comes to your head.
I thought. Do you remember when Joshua brought that Angel Fernandez guy in?
Yeah.
I think he needs someone like that who can just focus on tidying up all the bullshit, cut all the bullshit out, the unnecessary stuff. Yeah. So all this posturing, all this bullshit. Now, don't get wrong. What I'm trying to say, if he boxes with the Philly shell, that's fine. But I don't think he needs that to box. That makes that. I don't think Anthony Yarde needs to have the Philly shell. That's more of just of a to look cool, Mayweather shit. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think he needs that. I think he can box in a different way, and he's a good counterpuncher. Focus on the things you're good at and figure out a way to make it better at the things he's not good at. Common sense, like you said, practice makes perfect. You need a coach who's going to pinpoint the things you're doing wrong, not someone who's going to keep focusing on fucking flashy pad work and just gassing you up. You want to focus on your weaknesses just as much as you focus on your strengths. You're already good at the stuff you're good at. Of course, you want to hone those techniques. You want to, make sure they stay at the top level. But everything that you're not good at, you need to start tweaking those and find a way to become better at those or to master those. I don't think Anthony Yarde has done that since his loss, which was about a year and a half ago. And he's not going to do that moving forward with the same coach. Every fighter gets to a point where they need to have a refresh. And of course, some fighters who train with their dads, for example, maybe not. But we've seen, even some of the greatest fighters, Oscar De La Hoya and all these, they've had to, change trainers, good, bad, or ugly, whatever came of it, change trainers and switch. Something needs to change for Anthony Yarde to actually have a decent career. That's the way I look at it. And because
he's 29.
Exactly. He's not got, he's not a baby, is he? Yeah.
He's 29. What's he done? What is this guy known for?
Yeah.
Like, no offense to him, listen, but let's just be honest.
We're being honest, or no? We're being honest.
They've done nothing. He's done fuck all. He's done absolutely nothing in boxing. So I you know what? Listening to Tunde today and how it starts becoming a race problem and a race.
Oh, he's diverting. That pissed me off. That did. I was listening in the car on the way back.
Tunde, I'm just gonna ask you one question. Did you say that he is technically and he's better and that Andre Ward cannot do what Anthony Yarde can? All right. So you put that into a fighter's head, yeah? Cool. You say it on camera. That's not all jokes. It's not. He 100% believes it, but listen, I can believe I'm training a fighter and this guy is everything, but I'm not patting him on the back. You're not done shit yet, mate. I don't care. You need to prove it, to yourself and everyone. And, if he's saying that on camera and I can tell he means it, whatever he says, I know this guy means it. I know he does. So what you saying to Anthony then? Because he does say Anthony, like, the way they talk about him being great and everything, like, he has gassed him up, like you said. And what is that similar to Mr. English when he used to say that this guy's going to be better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Sugar Ray Leonard and Andre Ward can't touch him. When you say these things, it puts something in these fighters' heads because they're already not right in the head, okay? So they start believing that they are it, but they're not. Chris Eubank Jr. has still done a lot better than Anthony Yarde has. So he's still got some type of, okay, I get why he can say he's still pretty cool, right? You know what I mean? He's done his shit out here. And even when his loss has been, can you call those a losses? Like, really, morally? I know there's no moral victories in boxing, but Anthony Yarde, there's no comparison at all. And Tunde going on that race thing, man, like, what's that all about? You know what I mean? Why are you even saying that shit? That was just a
diversion tactic, and he's just trying to bullshit his way out of people talking about him getting fired and shit, yeah? That's literally all it was, yeah? And he knew he's on the right podcast with those two brothers to try and keep shouting over them and telling them to shut up and let him talk, which, they did.
That was fucking rude, innit?
That was wrong, yeah? But obviously, they don't want to, hamper that relationship as well. So
what's the podcast called?
Undefeated.
I thought it was really good, man.
Yeah,
I thought it was really sick, the way they let people call in and all that. I've never heard it before. I just seen it today.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who was on it.
I didn't know about it.
Let me click on this.
I've seen them before on Twitter, but I didn't know they had a podcast. But yeah, I think look, what it comes down to is this. I know you're saying you don't think he needs to leave Tunde. It's not just about the technique and what he's done with him. It all starts in the mind, man. It's all got to start from there. Because if a fighter thinks he's too good or he's better than he is, then he's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs to get with someone.
Look at the best fighters. Just look at the best fighters, and look at how they are. They will never. Even when Floyd Mayweather talks, he's proven it.
You can say that.
He's proven it. You know what I mean? Andre Ward, he doesn't talk in the ring.
Yeah, have you ever heard, like, I know Manny Pacquiao's that type of character, but have you ever heard him saying how good he is or what he's accomplished? You would never hear these people do that. You know what I mean? Even Andre Ward he didn't sit there and say stuff like that. So
no. These
boys have, no room. None of these, these young bloods have no room or no leg to stand on when it comes to this bullshit. Yes, a lot of it's, controversy sells and all that shit. Yeah, him and Chris Eubank especially. So that British boxing thing again, where, you can bullshit your way to millions. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that is the world we're living in right now. But, the kings of social media, and it's literally that. But again, I'm going to go back to something, I'm going to be very honest. I don't really rate Anthony Yarde. And it's not just based on this weekend. I said this before. There's something about him. Yes, I agree, and he's got potential. But unless he does something now, ASAP, he's going to get left behind, and that's it. You know, look at his performance against Kovalev. Like we said, yeah, fair enough. For the lack of experience he had and the lack of decent names he'd been in with beforehand, to jump up against Kovalev, who you thought was a cherry pick, mind you, you got smacked up for 10 of the 11 rounds, minus the one round where you beat him up a bit. Yeah, you still didn't stop the guy who's old and he's been drinking and he's been stopped in 2 fights before that, and he got stopped the next fight against Canelo. So it doesn't look very good for Anthony Yarde. But then you compare that to someone like Callum Johnson, who had been fairly inactive and got in the ring with Artur Beterbiev and knocked him down badly, hurt him. I know you can't compare the two things, but I'm more impressed with Callum Johnson doing what he did, even though the fight lasted a lot less and it probably was, a beating in its own right. I'm a lot more
imagine if that was Yarde against Beterbiev.
He'd be
just imagine
knocked out early.
Jesus.
Johnson did well, I thought, for considering he's not.
Yeah, really well.
And the fact that he caught Beterbiev, he actually hurt him bad, bro. Beterbiev was baffled when he was getting up. He was baffled, thinking, whoa. So he had to be very. After that, he was careful in the fight, but he still put pressure on him and got him out of there. You know what I mean? But the fact that he made Beterbiev switch on a bit more, that says something. Because Anthony Yarde can't do that with him. You know what I mean? So this is not an Anthony Yarde bashing session. It's meant to be a constructive criticism. He needs to leave Tunde Ajayi. I'm not saying that will fix everything, but I think a lot of it starts at, as I say, the problems start at home. You're a product of your environment, right? If he's brought up in an environment where he's being gassed up and told that he's something special, that does have an effect on you, no matter how strong you are.
Beyond Valda vibes, isn't it?
Exactly, but the way you've been blasting Wilder, it's a similar thing here, isn't it? He's there's something about him that I think he can do well. I don't know if he's ever going to be.
Tunde would say that it's racist.
Yeah, of course, we're not saying the racist. No one can accuse us of that. Yeah, of course not. But I like Anthony Yarde. I think he's got potential. He's got good look. He's got a good potential, a good frame. Everything about him physically, good specimen, everything. And I think he's got certain things that he does well in the ring, but he needs to make some sort of change now. And I think the best thing to do is get away from Tunde Ajayi. I'm not going to hate on Tunde the way Twitter doing blasting, blah blah. I'm not getting into all that. It's the delusion thing and the fact that he's done fuck all. You're building him up to be something special when he needs to prove something now. He needs to get in the ring and he needs to have a test against someone who's actually not a potential cherry pick on their end. Someone who's actually 50-50 fight. It could be the rematch with Lyndon Arthur where, he gets in the ring and he knocks him out.
Exactly, and improves.
Yeah, get past the jab and knock him out. Not the first round. Let it go 6-7 rounds. At least we see some improvements that way. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, if your knockout comes, you're going to take it. So if it is in the first round.
Yeah, well, he acted like he could have knocked him out whenever he wanted.
That's the thing, innit? But clearly, Lyndon Arthur's jab kept him honest as well, innit? Let's be honest.
It kept resetting him too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when Yarde was kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to go to right to the body, to set that overhand up, which he landed twice.
Yeah.
And every time Lyndon would just shuffle his jab a bit, and then when Yarde started doing that head movement shit, and he'll just step sideways and keep jabbing him, and boom, now you have to reset all over again.
Yeah, too slow.
Because you might Junior George Groves vibes, isn't it?
Literally, yeah. And there's nothing impressive about that, you know what I mean? So definitely, I think on the point about Yarde and Tunde, I think he needs to split off from him, and he needs to get
Adam Booth.
Adam Booth would be a disciplinarian coach, yeah, who will properly coach him. So that's a good shout. Or that Angel Fernandez guy is someone who can properly break him down and figure out what he's good at. What he's bad at.
He wouldn't listen to Angel Fernandez for sure.
So you think it's down to do with ego as well, yeah?
Definitely. His ego is insane.
What about Sugar Hill Stewart?
Yeah, that will be.
Bro, you know what it is? There's something about the Kronk, that name. Fighters go there and they think, look at these names that came to this gym and the respect. Of course, he's not Manny Stewart, but he was there through all of Manny Stewart's reigns with these fighters. He's his nephew. You know what I mean?
It's hard to say how good Sugar Hill is. I mean, he's working with J-Rock now.
And J-Rock, yeah. J-Rock's there now.
So,
let's see what J-Rock does.
I know, but, these fighters are already pretty good, you know what I mean? So,
no, of course, but...
Like Ben Davison, how good is Ben Davison? He's really good analytically breaking stuff down, How good is he, though?
We don't know, yeah.
It's not hard telling Josh Taylor what to do when he can do 54 different
we're
things.
Talking about building fighters up, aren't we? I suppose.
From the bottom. Yeah. And you know what? He's done that to Anthony Yarde, innit?
But built into what, though? Built into fuck all?
Yeah, I mean...
So what's he done with him? That's the thing, goes back to it. What has he actually done?
2 good rounds, bro. 1 round against Arthur, 1 round against...
Oh, my God.
His career. And he's a millionaire.
But you know what? Fair play to him.
Fair play to him. That's crazy.
Yeah? Get into the game, get out with your faculties and tank them a million in the bank. So if that's what his plan was, then fair play to him. But I doubt that.
I mean, listen, he's done amazing in that way. So when we're speaking of mismanagement, it's never financially, because financially you fucking smashed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But we don't give a shit. So we speak in boxing, and boxing has been a very, very badly managed career. And I mean, anyone knows this. It's like the most common thing in the world. You don't have to be a matchmaker to know that this has been shit management. Everyone knows it. Everyone says it. But them. That's it. But them. So they think that opinion is criticism and haters and negativity, and energy goes where it flows, and just fight the fucking right fights, man. Shut up, man. We don't give a crap about crystal ball energy crap, whatever this guy's trying to say. You know what I mean? What is this? It's like you want to have a spar session and talk about it. Like, no, man, just fight the right fighters. Then you don't care about all the energy crap you have to say. You know, people don't like you because your fighter is not fighting good fighters, and you kept talking like he is, and you kept saying that he's better than Andrew Ward and other stupid shit. And you know, that's why people don't like you. It's not because you're black. Like Rob McCracken, how much stick did Rob McCracken get for leaving Joshua in there, getting concussed, to not knowing the right tactics, to being too basic, to blah blah blah? I mean, I guess Rob McCracken's, you know, they're racist towards him too. Then, you know, I didn't hear Tunde come out and say anything then, but you know.
He's just an idiot. This is the thing. So let him say what he's got to say. He just talks shit, and that's fine. He's a character, and he adds something to the sport, I suppose. But yeah, whatever. So Anthony Yarde, look, he needs to do something, and let's hope, you know, Lyndon Arthur's hands better when they do have the rematch, because I'm sure there's going to be a rematch. I have a feeling.
I don't know why he said there's a rematch clause. I don't.
You don't think there is a rematch clause?
No, I don't think there's no rematch clause. Have you ever heard that for this type of level of fight?
That's what I was thinking when they said it. Why? That's normally for big
you know
fights.
what it is, bro? A lot of these fighters, they don't know about contracts and stuff, man. They just get.
Who said there was a rematch clause? Was it Lyndon or was it?
It was Lyndon who said it, but you know, these fighters, they don't really know a lot, do they?
Okay, well, let's see.
I've just noticed that, you know, when
Frank
fighters
Warren
talk
said
about,
they get the rematch on, but he says about everything, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Why not have the rematch? But look, you know, when he said about the right hand, it's like he needs to be so careful with using the right hand in the rematch, because every time he opened up, he was getting twice. So I think Yarde can easily win it. You know, if Lyndon opens up a lot more and gets a bit excited, then could be.
Yeah, he needs to kind of stick to the same game plan as much as he can, and then only use it when he's in trouble, kind of thing, isn't it? Just to keep Yarde off him. But Jello, we'll see what happens if the rematch is made this week. This Saturday, the return of the king, Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev at Wembley. I think they're getting about 1,000 fans in there, aren't they? So it's in tier 2. So there'll be a bit of an atmosphere compared to the other fights. And obviously, Joshua fights generally always have good atmospheres with, you know, thousands of fans and whatnot. Kubrat Pulev was originally scheduled to face him back in October 2017. He pulled out last minute due to an injury, which led to Carlos Takam stepping in against Joshua. So Pulev is now 3 years older. He hasn't really done much in those 3 years. I'd say he's beat Hughie Fury, which, you know, I don't think
he beat Kevin Johnson or something.
And Kevin Johnson, yeah.
No, was it not that old? Was it not Samuel Peter or something?
Peter,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he beat Samuel Peter.
I'm sure he beat some old like champion.
Yeah, Samuel Peter. He beat Kevin Johnson, Hughie Fury.
He beat Samuel Peter. Do you know how old Samuel Peter is now?
About 40, isn't it?
He's the guy who went like, who neck? Remember that video? Who neck? WBC heavyweight champion. Who neck?
Yeah.
He's old as hell now.
He's been around for a while. And
I remember seeing that, like, I think a year ago or something. I thought, what? Kubrat Pulev, Samuel Peter, 2018 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah. So again, Kubrat Pulev, he's only got one loss, and that was against Klitschko, where he got knocked out.
Did you watch the Hughie Fury fight?
No.
It wasn't on TV, was it?
I can't remember, but I just had no interest in it.
I didn't watch it.
I'll be honest, I find Hughie Fury boring, so I didn't watch it.
Worst fight ever to watch it.
Yeah, I find it very boring, so I didn't watch it. But so Kubrat Pulev, look, I think I'm not going to just say, Joshua's going to wipe him out, but I do think Joshua's going to knock him out bad, especially at this point. I don't think he's got much left to offer. You know, he's a big lump. You might give him a bit of different looks for the first round or two, but I think within 4 rounds, I think Joshua has him out of there. You know, steamroll him bad. He's older now. He fought Klitschko in 2014. This is 6 years later, right? So
Klitschko stopped him. What was the point?
Klitschko knocked him out bad. He knocked him down 3 times and then KO'd him. But badly. He dropped him 3 times with the same punch. That left.
So he did stop him. He did stop him.
Bad knockout. Left hook. Three times he dropped him to the same punch.
Yeah, no, I remember the hooks on that. I just didn't know if.
No, he stopped him. He stopped him. He knocked him out with the left
So it was
hook
Povetkin he dropped a few times and then.
he dropped Povetkin like
right?
4 times and then just hugged him to death in it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't see how Kubrat Pulev beats Joshua unless he just lands some crazy shit. But yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I don't think. I think Joshua stylistically is going to find we're going to find ourselves looking at the old Joshua, a bit more ready to put his his power punches together rather than box. Last year was about boxing to a game plan for that specific opponent and getting those belts back. That was it. Yeah. Now he can afford to be a bit more open and ruthless and just go for it. And Kubrat Pulev is the perfect opponent for that. Similar size, big lump. He's not fast. He doesn't do anything particularly. He's not a bad fighter. He's got a very good jab, but he doesn't do anything particularly brilliant. He just does everything at a decent level, right? So I don't think there's much in this fight. I think Joshua should fairly easily be able to steamroll him and put him out for fairly stress-free. I don't know about you. What do you think?
I really don't know because I think looking at it like in one way, I think that if it's like cruise control, and Joshua's got it easy, you can see like, knock him out, don't take no risks. At the same time, the rounds, a bit of ring rust and what have you, could be really good for him to get off. So I don't know. I hope it's an easy fight for him. I hope he can drop him and he just Pulev looks shit and his shell of himself. So don't like you said, I don't want no stress. I just don't want no stress this Saturday night. Can't be asked. So but I hope he gives him a good fight. Like I've got different views because I want him to crack Joshua and Joshua be fine, but I don't want him to crack Joshua and Joshua fucking wobble all over the place. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just think it'll be good for his confidence, for Joshua's confidence. Just nice to finally fight a tall opponent. It's good practice before Fury, and it'll be nice for him just to be able to punch without, being scared of these strong ass hooks coming from crazy low angles and stuff. Like obviously in his last 2 fights. So I don't know. I hope it's a decently competitive fight, so we see something. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to be like too easy for Joshua. I want him to get hit a bit. I want him to defend a bit. I want him to not weather a storm or so, but I'm sure Kubrat Pulev is gonna give it his all. It's probably his last title shot. You know what I mean? So I think he's gonna give it his all and hopefully get sparked out. So that's what I want. And is he gonna get knocked out? Yeah, let's just say knockout. Probably knockout.
Put it this way. I know this doesn't mean everything and it might not have any relevance. If a Klitschko who's getting to the back end of his career could spark him the way he did within 3-4 rounds, I think a Joshua who's still got plenty to...
Was it 4 rounds?
3 or 4 rounds he knocked him out in here.
Really?
Yeah, but he rocked Klitschko twice badly.
I remember, in the beginning.
Yeah, in the first 1 or 2 rounds, he rocked him badly. So he had the balls to go toe-to-toe with Klitschko at points. I don't think he's going to have the balls to do that with Joshua. He said in 2017, when they did the announcement for the fight, right, and he had an interview, and he said, I'm scared of Anthony Joshua. He said it. He goes, he's actually quite scary. You're saying that, bro. This kid's going to fold as soon as he gets whacked a few times.
Did he really mean that, though?
I think he meant it tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's a strange thing to say, but I think once he gets hit a few times...
I have to see his face before I can kind of read.
His face is blank. This is the problem, and he's always got like a blank look on his face, so I don't know. But he seems to be one of those guys who's got a very dry sense of humour, where he says things that he means as a joke. People don't know how to take it. It could be I took it the wrong way. But I do
if he becomes champion,
that's mad.
Then it's going to be a lot of old videos coming up.
Yeah, true.
Of him and Jenny Sushi.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That was last year. Yeah, that was mad.
That would be crazy.
Funny guy. But I mean, look, obviously for us as boxing fans, we want to see Fury Joshua. So this is the last real roadblock that they want to get through. Unless Usyk obviously kicks up a fuss, but then they're saying they're going to vacate that title. So that's a separate issue altogether. But we want to see Joshua come through in style. It's been a whole year we ain't seen him in the ring. That's a long time. It's the longest, layoff he's had as well, So I'm going to go with the Joshua knockout. I think he's going to look good. And I think he's going to stop him bad. I don't know. Again, like you said, you're not sure. But, I mean, I think you lean towards Joshua naturally. But
obviously,
yeah, of course. But I think he's gonna look. I think he's gonna look good. He's gonna make a statement. I think Joshua's like raring to go. He's had a whole year out. You know what I mean? He wants to get in there and throw some hands, man. So let's hope he doesn't get caught on the temple again. It all goes downhill from there. End up going to Saudi Arabia again next year for a rematch. But Clash on the Dunes too, as they were saying in one of Eddie Hearn's interviews. Just hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I think I'm just happy to see Joshua back in the ring. We enjoy the fact that we've got 2 heavyweight champions from our country as well. You know what I mean? It's a big thing for us from a pride point of view as well. And Joshua's just an exciting fighter, isn't he? Whether it's, him winning or him, getting knocked down, whatever it is, there's that vulnerability about him as well, which makes him exciting and makes you want to tune in. So I'm definitely excited to see him back in the ring. Like I said, I don't think it's going to last very long. And the undercard, I think Akoli versus, what's his name? Glowacki off because he tested positive, didn't he? And now they're going to have to find someone else. But it's not for the title. So there's not a lot of big fights. Kuzman and Bakoli, that was meant to happen a few months ago. That's a decent fight. That'd be a good fight.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight. That Florian Mark who's on there, he's quite exciting. 147 fight.
I haven't got a clue that is.
He fought a few weeks back in that was it the Ultimate Boxer, that show?
All right.
He's actually, he seems pretty good, man. For he's like an all action fighter. He wants to fight.
All right.
What's his name? Conor Benn as well. So we'll see. But yeah, hopefully Joshua comes through, and then next week we can sit here and start talking about Fury Joshua, and hopefully Fury will be ringside. They keep saying potentially he will be. I hope Fury actually does turn up, because you know what, we need stuff like that in it. A bit of pantomime, a bit of storyline. Whether the fights.
Yeah, COVID might just mess everything up, don't it?
Yeah, that's the thing in it. But we still want to see.
That's a bit you want to see a proper face to face, innit?
Yeah, we just want to see for the banter, innit? For the banter.
Social distance over there.
Yeah. Get some. Just get some thingy going there, some storyline. Get everyone pumped. Even if the fight isn't done yet, that's fine. Just get it. Get some publicity out there. Get people talking.
See, with this fight, I don't mind the publicity because I think we're all pretty aware that the fight's going to happen.
The money's there. It's going to happen. Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. So I'm all for the hype now. I want to get hype. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So yeah, hopefully this time next week we can talk about Fury Joshua a bit more, and hopefully have a face-off to discuss if things go the way we are hoping that they go.
Canelo and Golovkin the week after, innit?
Canelo and Smith, sorry, you think?
Sorry, Canelo. Yeah, I'm saying Canelo and Golovkin are both fighting.
Oh, sorry. I thought even the fighting was Friday. So next week, obviously, when we do the next edition, we can discuss that. Obviously, preview those 2 fights. Bear in mind that the Golovkin fight's on Friday night, so we might have to do a podcast on Thursday then.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the week after, isn't it? Yeah, that's next week. Thursday then, yeah, cool. So what we'll do, we'll wrap up there today, and we will get back next week to discuss, obviously, post-fights for this and previews of Canelo, Smith and Golovkin, Zarameta, and whatever else has happened between now and then. Let's hope Anthony Joshua comes through so we can get the super fight we all want. For everyone who has tuned in, thank you very much as always. You can email us at the Boxing Junkies Podcast at gmail.com. Any questions or topics you want us to discuss, or alternatively, you can leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. That's the Boxing Junkies Podcast on YouTube. Apart from that, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you.